Well, good evening, good evening, good evening, and good evening. Welcome, one and all. Thank you so much for joining me this evening on the Talk and Sip Saturday night. My name is Silver Sidiel, hailing from the UK in the diaspora. Today is the 8th of June 2024, and time is going. We are already in in June, halfway in the year already. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining, and for those joining me on Instagram, those joining me on TikTok, those joining me on Facebook, those joining me on YouTube as well. YouTube is the primary channel, and of course, if you want to interact, there's a link as well that you can join in on, and you can also what should I say? Um, be a part. What is this happening here? Is this something here? Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, let me see something here. One, two. Yeah, yeah. You can be a part of the discussion as much as possible. Well, tonight is Saturday night. Tonight is talk and sip, and we talk and sip. What we do, we ask you what you're drinking, and of course, I'm having some cranberry juice and some Shiraz, if anything, some red wine, and of course, I try to stick with the water uh, as well. And you can tell me like what you're drinking, and for tonight, you don't have to have any alcohol or anything. It can just be water or anything. So that would be great. Well, listen, tonight, tonight I want to sort of take it back to basics. And when I say I want to take it back to basic, I want to take it back to basic in some discussions which have been happening over the weeks, over the months, and most of it has to do with Jamaica. Uh, but before I go there, I want to talk when I start properly about even the elections in the UK, because we're from the diaspora, and in the UK we are in the middle of a vibrant election campaign. July the 4th. May the 4th be with you, will be the election in the UK. And I also want to look at civil society, in regarding Jamaica, civil society, because I had a discussion with a member of the civil society in Jamaica, National Integrity in Action, NIA, and with Miss Danielle Archer. And she broke it down that civil society is not just not just a few persons. Sorry, get my it is not just a few organizations, but it is a lot of organizations really, which is civil society. So it needs to be broken down. It's not just three or four or five organizations, but it is many organizations that make up civil society. That is also crucial. And I also want to put a reminder of some of the issues regarding accountability and transparency in government, talking about the seven codes of conduct for persons in political life. I'm going to list out the name of the politicians who have signed up. I'm going to list, and of course, you can find out by default who are those that have not signed up. And about the promises, there's a press release from National Integrity Action about promises which have been made, but which have not been kept. So yeah, we're gonna talk about that this evening. Okay. Okay. Well, thank you so much for that. Um, we're in the thrust of the general election in the UK, and for those who are not familiar with it, yes, the UK July the 4th, Rishi Sunak called the election, and the election is going to be July the 4th. A lot of persons are lining up. They're talking about change. More than likely, we're going to see. Chances are a Labour Party with Sir Keir Starmer, which will be assuming the leadership based on the polls which are happening now. It seemed like it could be a wipeout in a sense of the Conservative Party. And also you got Reform, which has joined in with Nigel Farage. And with Nigel Farage, of course, they're saying they're vying to be the opposition, and they're actually a right-wing party, more to the right than the Conservative. Conservatives, I believe, is a more center right to a certain extent, and hopefully to take away a lot of the votes from the conservative, and therefore, trying to and give it over well to Labour. Labour more than likely will get in. So there have been a few debates which has happened. A debate with the leaders, debate with what's his name, Keir Starmer, and Mr. Rishi Sunak, that took place, and yeah, just two of them before, and then you had seven minor leaders within the different party, which happened a couple of days ago as well, and that has been happening. But one of the things that I wanted to just touch on, and that is regarding the elections. We've been talking about different ways how people can vote. One of the things that has changed in the UK of recent days, and this is what persons must be very cognizant of, is that you need your ID. The former prime minister, which is Boris Johnson, went to the local government elections and did not have his ID, and they had to turn him back. Yeah. So therefore, the ID, you need your ID when you go to the polls. Um, and therefore, there are different ways so you can find your constituency. You can go onto the BBC website and just type in how to find your constituency. Who can vote in a general election? It says all UK citizens who live abroad. Listen to this. All UK citizens who live abroad can register to vote in the constituency where they were previously resident on the electoral roll, as long as they are not legally excluded from voting. This is very important. Anyone on the electoral register age 18 or over on polling day can vote in the general election as long as they are a British citizen, a qualifying Commonwealth citizen, or a Republic of Ireland citizen with a UK address. Now, I've never voted in Jamaica. I came to the UK when I was at the tender age of 23. And when I came to the UK, not a citizen, but as a student, but as a Commonwealth, I was able to vote in the UK elections. Think about that for a second. All UK citizens who live abroad can register to vote in the constituency where they were previously resident on the electoral roll, as long as they are not legally excluded from voting. This is all aspect of overseas voting. The UK provides for that. A neighbor of mine I mentioned, who is from South Africa, was able to vote in the election. Well, he missed the voting day because he didn't register, but he was able to vote in the UK at South Africa House for the election there. And that is something I believe that Jamaica need to really move towards, actually, whereby Jamaicans overseas, those who are registered in a constituency in Jamaica, don't have to go to Jamaica as a electoral tourist or election tourists to go and vote, but they can vote actually here in the UK for an election in Jamaica. And those in Jamaica, more than likely, I would say maybe like Mark Shields, for argument's sake, he doesn't have to come to the UK to vote. He can go to the British High Commission and vote. That is if he's registered in a constituency here in the UK. Students can be registered at both their home and term address, but they can only vote in one place at the general election. Voting more than once in a general election is a criminal offense. Students, yeah. Those who cannot vote in the general election include prisoners serving a sentence in jail and peers from the House of Lords. And the deadline to register to vote in the general election is 23:59 British Standard Time on Thursday, 18th of June. Now, postal vote is what I tend to use. I tend to do postal vote. Postal vote works if you can't vote in person. I can vote in person, but I like to use postal vote. I vote days before long because sometimes I'm active maybe with elections or so, and therefore you need that time as well. You'll not be able to turn up in a person during these times, and you have already registered for the general, you can apply for a postal vote. And the deadline to apply for a postal vote, and listen to this for persons in the UK, is 1700 hours on Friday, the 14th of June, 2024, which is next week, Friday. Let me see, next week, Friday. Yeah. Proxy vote. You can also nominate a proxy to vote on your behalf. You and your proxy must be registered to vote. You and your proxy must be registered to vote. The rules for voting proxy have changed. If you have applied for a proxy vote before 31st of October 2023, this has expired and you need to apply again. Right? You need to apply again. The deadline to apply for a proxy vote for the general election is 1700 hours on Wednesday, the 26th of June. Okay. And you can also request an emergency proxy vote after this deadline if last minute work commitments or a medical emergency. You cannot vote in person. You can apply for this up to 1700 on polling day. The deadline to apply for a proxy vote in Northern Ireland is 1700 on Friday, 14th of June. Now, the bit which I mentioned about the general election with the ID, since May 2023, voters have to show a valid form of photo ID at polling stations to vote in person at a general election. 22 acceptable form of IDs, including your passport, driving license, all older or disabled person bus passes, Oyster 60 plus cards. You can use out of date photo ID as long as they look the same. So so that is what is happening there. So just to let you know, regarding this election coming up. So therefore, get out there and to vote in your prospective parliamentary candidate. Whether it is conservative, whether it is Labour, whether it is Lib Dem, whether it is Reform, whether it's Green, whether it is the Looney Loons. There are so many different parties which are vying for power in the UK at this time. It's time for change, they say, and we'll see that. Yeah, and with June the 16th to the 19th, of course, you have the Diaspora Conference, and people are invited to go there. June 16 to 19, and I'll do a commercial break right here now.
Attention Jamaicans abroad! Participate in the Diaspora Day of Service on June 20, which follows the 10th Biennial Jamaica Diaspora Conference. Plan a project or join an existing one. Whether you're planting seeds of change, sharing your skills, or lending a helping hand, together we can build a brighter future for our fellow Jamaicans. Register today and learn more at diasporaconferenceja.eventbrite.com. Sponsored by JN Group, VM Group, and Grace Kennedy. A message from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade.
Okay, so the Diaspora Conference is on its way. Blessings to everyone on the live. Blessing Nima. Yeah, easy, brethren, easy. So the Diaspora Conference, June the 16th to the 19th. All roads lead to Montego Bay, the conference center in Montego Bay. Let's hope for it to be a successful event. And there's also the other Diaspora conference, which is happening with Rattigan and Wayne Donsome and these guys in the afternoon, which won't be a conflict there. All ideas must contain, and all different persons must feel free to somewhat have their say at this time in the development of Jamaica as much as possible. Those who are focused on investment, buying up properties, and those who are focused on crime and different issues, integrity, etc., etc., etc. All ideas must contain. I have no problem with persons getting together and having that conversation. But yeah, the first topic is civil society. Civil society is remember to like and share this and share this video, share this. Of course, I'm on Instagram and I'm on TikTok, I'm on Facebook, I'm on YouTube. There's always this talk about civil society, and of recent days, Mr. Kevin O'Brien Chang mentioned about civil society is somewhat very quiet when it comes on to key issues happening in Jamaica. Somewhat very quiet, and civil society fingers out normally, or people tend to point the fingers at 3 or 4 organizations. One which is Advocacy Network, Professor Rosalie Hamilton. One with NIA, National Integrity Network Alliance, that is with Daniel Archer and Trevor Monroe. One with Justice for Jamaica, and also you have JAMP as well. Those are some of the key ones, or those 3 are the key ones which are normally talked about. And they will send out press releases, have press conference, and be very vocal on these issues. I've somewhat partnered myself with Advocacy Network and NIA, which I believe that they're very key fundamental organization, National Integrity Action, because it makes no sense for one to say that let me be a part of the solution in Jamaica without actually formulating and being a part of some of the organizations that are trying to make a difference in Jamaica. You know what I'm trying to say? So civil society is very crucial. And when I was doing a little research on civil society, and and it says civil society refers to the aggregate of non-governmental organizations and institutions that manifest interest and will of citizens. It is a sphere distinct from the government and the market, comprising voluntary, civic, and social organizations and institutions that form the basis of a functioning society, civil organization. And components of civil society, yeah, non-governmental organization, NGOs. These are legally constituted organizations that operate independently from the government. They often focus on social, political, environment, or an universal humanitarian issues. Community groups, local groups formed around common interest issues or goals, often working at a grassroots levels to address specific community needs. Yeah. Faith-based organization, faith-based organizations, religious institutions and groups that often engage in social welfare, community support, and advocacy based on religious principles. Professional associations, organizations that represent the interests of professionals in various fields, such as medical associate, bar association, and teacher unions. Listen to that. So therefore, these groups are not supposed to be separate and apart and don't want to take part in what is happening and to be the voice. They must be the voice and not leave it to just a 3 or 4 persons or 3 or 4 organizations. Trade unions, organizations formed by workers to protect their rights and interests in the workplace, negotiate wages, and ensure fair labor practices. Yep. Social movements, collective efforts by large groups of people to bring about or resist social change. Example includes civil rights movements, environmental movement, and feminist movements. Yeah, feminist movements. Charities and philanthropic organizations. Organizations that collect and distribute funds to support various causes, right? Often focus on poverty alleviation, education, and health. Cultural and recreational groups, clubs, and societies that promote cultural activities, sports, arts, and hobbies. Advocacy groups, and actually the groups which I highlighted were advocacy groups: National Integrity Action, Advocacy Network, JAMP, Justice for Jamaica. These are advocacy groups. Those are the ones that somewhat are very vocal now, or seem to be very vocal. But really and truly, it is everyone. Everybody needs to play a part in that. Organizations that seek to influence, which is advocacy groups, to influence public policy and decisions making in various areas such as human rights, environmental protection, and consumer rights. Yep. Those are some of the key. So therefore, what we're looking at groups like the Optimist Club, we're talking about key clubs, we're talking about the Bar Associate, we're talking about the Medical Associate, we're talking about different groups, talking about the labor groups, we're talking about trade unions. All need to play a part in that process. Role of civil society, and this is a key thing. What is the role of civil society? Right? Advocacy and public awareness. Civil society organizations often advocate for public changes, raise awareness about social issues, and hold government accountable. Service provision. Many civil society organizations provide essential services such as healthcare, education, and disaster relief, often filling gaps left by the government. Community building by fostering social networks and community engagements. Monitoring and accountability. That's like with JAMP. Civil society plays a crucial role in monitoring government actions, promoting transparency, and fighting corruption. Empowerment and participation. Civil society encourages citizen participation in political and social processes, empowering individuals to take part in shaping their societies. Right? Civil society, person within society, shape society. Overall, civil society is essential for a healthy democracy as it provides a space for citizens to express their interests, exercise their rights, and hold government accountable. Right? Holding government accountable is crucial. Holding government accountable is key, right? And with what is happening now, when one listen from overseas, from the diaspora, listening to what's happening in Jamaica, and sort of lending your voice to what is happening in Jamaica, when we talk about the reform of the constitution, we talk about the recommendation which has been put forward, and whereby one is talking about that there is not an initiative where the people are somewhat involved, but the initiative is normally or led somewhat by government, right? That's where the initiative is led by government. And therefore, where are the people? What is where's the voice of the people? Where's the voice of civil society? Can't just wait for those two or those three or those four organizations, but everyone need to be a part in the process. Everybody need to play a part in the process. Do you agree? You know, and what do you say about that? That everyone need to play a part in the process. You know, I've got I've got what should I say, a link where persons can actually join in, and you know, you can join in as well. Let me see if I can put the link up here that persons can actually, well, if you want to join in or so, yeah, you just let me know. Persons to participate, for guests to participate in the program. Let me see here. The comments. It is very, you see, one of the things that I've seen as well is that there is so many things which I see which is happening, you know, in just 1 week or so in Jamaica. And I wrote to someone just the other day, and this is what I said to them. You know, if you're not careful, we find Jamaica going down a particular path. And when one looks at it from outside looking in, I'm going to say you look at it from the outside looking in, outside looking in, and where is it? Do you know if the Prime Minister in the UK was caught with all these different rumors about alternative partners in Parliament, the press and the people would hound him to come to some resolution of it, or he'll have to step aside. Okay? If in the UK, and I use that as an example, if there's an issue whereby statutory declaration was not signed off, mark you, it is one thing to say that it has been submitted, which is, but it's not been signed off for 3 years. The press and the people would hound such a person out of office or to call for a general election. If a government which is reigning is presiding over an issue whereby 6 of its MPs or senators Doesn't matter whether it is the government side or whether it is the uh, whether it's government side or whether it is sorry, there's something a while ago. Whether it's the government side or whether it is the opposition side, the government would be voted out or in a vote of no confidence. But sometimes that won't, vote of no confidence may not happen, as people will sort of vote along party lines. If a government won't sign up to the code of conduct, the pressure will be on for them to step aside. And why I say that there, it is just to bring into frame that with all which what is happening, sometimes the ball can be dropped. The ball can be dropped whereby one is focusing on so many different things, so many different side issues, focusing on even issues like dual citizenship. Because as far as I'm concerned, with the whole aspect of dual citizenship for the Commonwealth persons, that's a done deal. But it is a good deal for it to be brought up into the CRC recommendations, for it to be dealt with and for it to be addressed. But for now, a person like Mr. Samuda and a person like Mr. Golin, they are legally okay and in the right place according to the Constitution because they are Commonwealth. But of course, if it is a US person, then that's different. So therefore, these things need to come into the recommendation from the CRC to make a change and to address that once in a while. Just like Mr. Patterson was actually articulating some points of recent days, which is so very crucial. So civil society, as far as I'm concerned, civil society plays a fundamental role or should play a fundamental role in addressing this and putting pressure. But people have to put that pressure. And that is why I'm trying not to stare into the pathway of lots of the discussion which are happening, but sort of rein it back from a diaspora perspective, one looking at it from outside looking in, from the outside looking in, right? Because those within the diaspora play a fundamental part no matter what. And it is right that Prime Minister, the former Prime Minister, Mr. Patterson, highlighted that what are you going to do about the diaspora? What are you going to do about persons overseas who are legitimately interested and want to take a part and be a part in the process? When he mentioned that persons who are living in the States for near to 50 years, decades, but don't want to accept a British US citizenship because they don't want to give up their Jamaican rights, so they stick to the green card. So all of this needs to be taken into place. So therefore, it can't be left only to the government or the MPs to address it. It must be dealt with in different ways and different factors. So therefore, it can come to a full resolution. And so civil society, Optimist Club, Key Club, Kiwanis, trade unions, persons in groups, schools, churches, everyone needs to play a part in the process. You are encouraged, I believe, I would say, to play a part in that fundamental process. You have to. It's your birthright. It's just like when I took some young people to the House of Commons one time through Operation Black Vote. And these were some young persons, British born or British subjects. And I said to them, Diana Butt was there, and a couple of MPs were there. Dominic Grieve was there, former Attorney General. And I said, one has got to somewhat own, one has got to somewhat own these places. You've got to own Parliament, right? You've got to accept that Parliament is a part of you, and you've got to create a legacy. You've got to create a fundamental change in that as much as possible, right? Have to be a part in the process and have to be in there to make that fundamental change as much as possible. It's very important, you know. And the different MPs came and sat, and we have a discussion because sometimes persons will say, from the UK here, you know, it's not my cup of tea. I mean, I don't see any black people there. Hardly much black people there, mostly white people. And when you walk into Parliament in the UK here, you see a lot of white persons, a lot of students also coming out of school. They're researchers, which are very key. And one of the key things about that is that, and why I always say to people sometimes, to encourage your children to do youth intern in Parliament, because those that are doing the interns are the ones that are doing a lot of the researching, you know. They're doing a lot of the researching as much as possible, you know. You can have both Jamaican and US background. Okay, whatever that is. Yeah. Yeah. So so therefore it's very important that the young people play a full part in that process, you know. And you know, you know, and when I thought about this whole thing about the integrity, and just bring this back, bring this full on now to the whole aspect of where civil society can put somewhat uh should I say pressure? Yeah, can emphasize pressure and put some pressure on what should I say, the government of today. I'll put some pressure on the structure of today, you know, because as someone once said, you don't just wait for an election to actually ever say. If you're just a voter, then you'll never say once every 4 years or every 5 years. But if you play an active role right through the process of that, then you are part of the process. Now, there are 7 code of conduct that MPs need to sign up to, or persons vying for public office. Selflessness, and I go through them. I'm taking my time with this discussion here, and just myself today. Selflessness. Holders of public office should act solely in terms of the public interest. They should not do so in order to gain financial or other material benefits for themselves, their family, or friends. Holders of public office should not place themselves under any financial or other obligations to individuals or organizations that might seek to encourage improper behavior in the performance of their official duties. Integrity. Objectivity. In carrying out public business, including making public appointments, awarding contracts, or recommending individuals for rewards and benefits, holders of public office should make choices on merit. Holders of public office are accountable for their decisions and actions to the public and must submit themselves to whosoever or to whatever scrutiny is appropriate to their office. Accountability. Openness. Holders of public office should be as open as possible about all the decisions and actions that they take. They should give reasons for their decisions and restrict information only when the wider public interest clearly demands. Holders of public office, this is honesty, have a duty to declare any private interest relating to their public duties and to take steps to resolve any conflict arising in a way that protects the public interest. And 7th one, leadership. Holders of public office should promote and support their principles by leadership and example. All right? Those are the what should I say, the whole aspect of you know, the 7 tenets, 7 principles of the code of conduct. And this is what MPs are, should sign up to. Yes, they should sign up to. Now let me list some of the MPs or persons who have signed up to this whole thing. Yeah. Subscription to leadership commitment to code of conduct. 1. Mark Golding, leader of the opposition, January 9th, 2023. I'm going to take in my time here. You know, the persons who have actually signed up to it. 2. Mr. Julian Robinson, MP member, opposition shadow cabinet, January 10th, 2023. 3. Senator Dr. Floyd Morris, member, opposition shadow cabinet, February 3rd, 2023. 4. Angela Brown Burke, MP, member of opposition shadow cabinet, February 15, 2023. Mrs. Patricia Duncan Sutherland, member, opposition shadow cabinet, February 24th, 2023. Senator Janice Allen, member, opposition shadow cabinet, April 20, 2023. Mr. Michael Phillips, member, opposition shadow cabinet, April 25, 2023. Senator Donna Scott Motley, member, opposition shadow cabinet, April 2023. Dr. Morris Guy, MP, member, opposition shadow cabinet, April 26. Mrs. Natalie Nita Garvey, MP, member, opposition shadow cabinet, May the 1st, 2023. Mr. Philip Paulwell, MP, member, opposition shadow cabinet, April 28, 2023. Senator Gabriel Morris, member, opposition shadow cabinet. Dr. Andre Orton, member, opposition shadow cabinet. He's not an MP yet, but running caretaker for a constituency. Senator Peter Bunting, member, opposition shadow cabinet. Miss Lisa Anna, MP, member, opposition shadow cabinet. Senator Sophie Fraser Binns, member, opposition shadow cabinet. Senator Damian Crawford, member, opposition shadow cabinet. Mr. Anthony Hilton, MP, member, opposition shadow cabinet. Senator Lambert Brown, member, opposition shadow cabinet. Mr. Raymond Price, member, opposition shadow cabinet. Mr. Lothian Cousins, member, opposition shadow cabinet. And Ms. Joyce Denise Daly, member, opposition shadow cabinet. Ladies and gentlemen, what that is actually saying, and what I just read out there, were all the persons, according to the website of the Integrity Commission, who have actually signed up to the Code of Principles, the 7 code on of conduct. Yeah, 7 code of conduct. Nothing from the government side. Nothing from the government side. Nothing from the government side. And that is a travesty. You see, you got to call a spade a spade. That's why I said there's so many distractions going on with so many different things happening, but these are key things which are not honored. And that is where civil society, I believe, play a fundamental role and should play a fundamental role in challenging, different groups, not just waiting for the key groups of NIA, JAMP, Advocacy Network, and Justice for Jamaica. because that's just a few. Everybody need to really hands on deck to challenge, because government officials I mean, you're seeing. Let's see what happened in the UK of recent days. The prime minister went to the D-Day thing and he left halfway or so. I don't know what happened there. And during the debate which took place, Penny Mordaunt, who was representing the government, had to apologize and say it was wrong. It made a mistake. Well, he shouldn't have. And the prime minister already apologized. But they were gunning for him to a certain civil society, groups, organization, political parties, everyone gunning for him and say, you shouldn't have done that. The army saying you shouldn't have done that. Whatever the reasons were. Right? So therefore, persons collectively within civil society, and that's one thing I'm harping on, civil society must play a fundamental role. Right? I broke it down earlier about civil society, components of civil society, non-governmental organization, community groups, faith-based organization, the church, professional association, yes, the bar, the medical fraternity, teachers union. These groups must not be so politically charged, whereby they are not able to actually go in and actually challenge, trade unions, social movements, charities and philanthropic organizations, cultural and recreational groups, advocacy group. It should not be left only to advocacy groups. Should not be left only to advocacy groups to actually challenge the government, to challenge organization. But we're in the middle of what should I say? Constitution reform. Constitution reform we're in the middle of. Right in the middle of something which is so crucial. 1962, 1962, 1962, what should I say? The Constitution was handed down to us. 1962. Sorry, one second. 1962. Yeah, 1962. Sorry, one second. Call is coming in. Just shut it down. 1962. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. 1962. Like my whole span of concentration just went a while ago. The call a while ago, which sort of transferred. 1962, the Constitution was handed down. Whether work together or whatever like that, a lot of the people of Jamaica weren't able to take part and to play a fundamental role in this whole Constitution. Here is an opportunity. An opportunity has presented itself to the Jamaican people. An opportunity has presented itself not only to the government. An opportunity has presented itself to every boy and girl, every Tom, Dick, and Harry, right through the breadth of the country of Jamaica. Those also in the diaspora should have a say in the whole process as to this rebirth or this leading to a full independence of Jamaica, right? Leading to the full independence. And it should be a very exciting time. An exciting time. And promises must be kept. Promises must be kept. And I believe the Prime Minister said, challenge persons with their promises, Accountability requires promises made to be kept. What part of my topic is civil society, promises, and government accountability. And something which I saw, which actually brought me to bring this particular bit about promises and government accountability. You see, National Integrity Action, NIA, put out a press release recently And it says it has observed that despite the Minister of Legal and Constitutional Affairs, that is Malahu Fort, confirming in Parliament, yeah. Let me see. Let me see if I can do something here. 1 second. 1 minute. I'm just taking us through this process here. Yeah. There's the minister. The press release said, as observed, that despite the Minister of Legal and Constitutional Affairs confirming in Parliament on November the 15th, 2022, the existence of a bipartisan agreement on impeachment provisions and that they will be included in the first phase of the constitutional reform process. Impeachment does not form part of the recommendations from the Constitutional Reform Committee. Hear that? Impeachment doesn't form a part of it. Ladies and gentlemen, please share this live. Please share it to YouTube, Facebook, and whatever. Just going through this like a fine-tooth comb with no rush, right? Not getting distracted by any comments. I saw some comments. I had to block some few comments earlier a while ago. It's unnecessary. Not dealing with any sort of tribalistic sort of thing right now, but just dealing with some key issues, right? It is very interesting also what I find with Jamaica. If you articulate and you are focused on a particular angle, and if that angle does not line up with either of the political side, you're deemed to be the other side. So therefore, if you say something which is not lined up with the thinking of the JLP, then you're PNP. If you say something which is not lined up with the thinking of the PNP, then you're JLP. You know what I'm trying to say, And I believe it is very childish, very immature, and people need to grow up. I see something which are happening regarding even this whole thing regarding, side chicken, all those sort of things in the house of also garden house. I think it is so petty, really. I see some other issues whereby the deputy speaker of the house with some issues about the opposition leader wife, and I'm saying, come on, man. The children in Trelawney is wanting some bridge. They said there's no bridge there. They want to fix that bridge. People are having low income and suffering in different ways. People want houses, and they're talking about side chick, side piece, and it just really, it's not nice. It doesn't look well, and it is all over. It's all over the world. I'm not going to delve into that, but I just want to just let that be to know that I'm aware of it. See, but I won't do a show on it. Persons are doing shows on it, and I've been watching it, and kudos to them for bringing these things to light. Yeah. Going back to we believe that impeachment is a crucial part of good governance. We believe impeachment is a crucial part of good governance, which respects the right of all Jamaicans to have a continuous say in the quality of representation they receive. Therefore, whether the provision is included in a new constitution or simply legislation, an impeachment law supports good governance. That's what we're talking about. Good governance, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about accountability. We're talking about transparency. We're talking about all these different factors. And I repeat them: selflessness, integrity, objectivity, accountability, openness, honesty, leadership. At one point I was running within the diaspora structure here in the UK. I've been involved from 2004, and I had to sign up to the code, these simple codes: selflessness, integrity, objectivity, accountability, openness, honesty, and leadership. And therefore, all MPs, all leaders should form a part of it. I mean, even of recent days, you have the whole aspect of the statutory declaration. A gentleman which I met, Mr. Charlton McFarlane, the Registrar General, the former Registrar General of in Jamaica, he was sacked. Let's call it. He was sacked because he did not do his statutory declaration. and I think he was fined. I think he was found guilty, and I think he was fined $500,000. Is that $500,000 or so, something of that nature? So, well, puss and dog don't have the same luck. I don't understand that, you know. So therefore, you know, they get the guy, you get the small guy. I don't know, you know, but you know, we got to deal with these things properly. But anyway, let's move on to that point which I was talking about. The advocacy group said they take the opportunity to remind the government that we have had many instances in which the actions of parliamentarians have been deemed morally untenable. There's no method where they can be impeached for action that bring our parliament into disrepute. Is the parliament in disrepute at this point? Is Gordon House in disrepute? And why is it in disrepute? And if it is in disrepute, what sort of actions can be taken? There's none, right? And that is why the Constitution needs to frame itself in a way whereby it is above reproach, beyond reproach, and therefore, you know, parliamentarians, leaders do not get away with it. And when I say leaders, I'm talking about servants of the people, because the people are the ones who actually create the leaders or create these servants. Because when these persons go and knock on the doors, the election time now, they were showing David Cameron going up to a door knock, supporting someone as candidate. Because David Cameron is a Lord, he's not running for an MP. But persons are going to go around in the UK now, knocking on doors and say, "Hey, I am XYZ, and you know, I'm going to be running in this particular area. Here are my 7 points. This is my manifesto, and this is what I can do, and this is what I should do, and therefore hold me accountable." So you're going to the people and you're seeking the people to vote for you, because right now there are no MPs in Jamaica, in the UK. Sorry, let me just break it down. Let's back it up. There's no MPs in the United Kingdom. Yeah, it says this is what happened to Parliament and MPs. The Prime Minister formally asked the King to dissolve Parliament. Parliament was dissolved on Thursday, 30th of May. This means MPs lose their status, and those who want to remain in the House of Commons have to campaign for their re-election. So those who want to remain and to go back to work in the House of Commons, they all have to campaign, putting themselves back to the people. Yeah? Put yourself back to the people. It has said that more than 130 MPs have said they will not stand in the general election. Government also enters a pre-election period previously known as PERDA, which restricts ministerial and departmental activity during the campaign. All right. So therefore, in the present moment, there are no members of parliament in the UK. What is happening now is that they are being run by the country's being run by the prime minister, the cabinet, and the civil service. Right. All MPs, all persons who are want to seek political office, MPs, they are now out there campaigning, going back to the people and say to the people, "Here I am. Vote for me. Send me back there." So therefore, the MP is the servant. The people are the boss. Because in the UK, you can recall an MP. Yep. Yes, you can recall an MP. Bring them back. Get a certain amount of people, bring them back. Yeah. So what they say now is that there's no method whereby they can be impeached for actions that bring our parliament into disrepute. At a mass meeting in Sam Sharp's Square on February 7, 2016, the current Prime Minister stated, "Within the first 100 days of our government, we will start the legislative process to institute impeachment proceedings in Parliament." Yes, this will add another layer of process to sorry, one second. TikTok. A person on TikTok, if you jump over onto the YouTube channel, that'd be great. Yeah. This will add another layer of protection of the parliament to ensure that only members of unquestioned integrity sit in parliament. More than 7 years have since passed, given that 91.5% of Jamaicans, according to a done on this poll 2023, are desirous of impeachment charges against elected officials found guilty of unlawful activities. So therefore, what this is saying then is this: if the investigation in the illicit enrichment or corruption come to a fruition, and 5 or 4 or 3 of them or so are found guilty, then what happens? Impeach them, kick them out. That's what should happen. You know, you know, these are the things that deal with accountability. So therefore, why is it not something which is of a great interest for the government, the organization, the governmental bodies, the recommendation to do this? Because it doesn't serve their purpose. And that is why civil society need to take a role, and a fundamental role, in this whole process of the recommendation by the CRC, and have their fingerprints all over it. All over it. Your fingerprints need to be all over it. The people's fingerprints need to be all over it. Not just 1 or 2 persons talking about it. Not just a few bloggers talk about it. Not just a few civil society organizations talking about it, but everyone in Jamaica, those in the diaspora need to play a role. Those in the opposition, those in the different parties need to play a fundamental role in changing the game. No more can you stand back and sit back, because if you stand back and sit back and say, I don't know what to do with me, that not gonna feed my belly. But guess what? Others will feed their belly. Others will feed their belly. And others will just run the boat and just say, business as usual. New day. This is not about paying pure JLP. This is about accountability. This is not about boxing food from people's mouth. This is about having a transformed government. This is about a constitution that will be created. As someone said, Silver, it is not even about reform. It's about creation of a new document that actually have the fingerprints and the hallmark of all Jamaicans printed all over it. Right? So we go further. Yeah. Regarding impeachment, notably, the local government legislation enacted in 2016 includes an impeachment provision for mayors, demonstrating both Parliament's familiarity with and conviction of the need for such a mechanism. Right? National Integrity Action, NIA. I'm going through the press release here. It's actually full on, something to be dissected, and therefore, when a press release like this goes out, sometimes the media houses might just grab on a piece of it and they take a bit of it. But do people see this? Do people actually able to navigate it? Do people able to understand what is actually said here by some of the leaders in the advocacy group, wanting to actually challenge also the mindset of Jamaicans, not just the mindset of the politician, but for the people to actually understand. The NIA reminds the government of its commitment to hold parliamentarians accountable through a code of conduct. The code of conduct was presented to the cabinet on June the 6th, 2023. I just read it. But the public has not seen the draft. This lack of transparency is a clear gap in the government's commitment to uphold accountability. The advocacy group urges the government to publish a code of conduct for public feedback promptly and provide a timeline for its implementation. It says this government has demonstrated that swift legislation passage is possible and urge the government to pass impeachment legislation. Our Prime Minister said he does not make promises, he makes commitments. But at the same time, I think I just recently heard he said, test us on our promises. Accountability requires that these commitments be kept. There's still time to do the right thing. Do the right thing. Yes, it's time to do the right thing, ladies and gentlemen. It's time right now to do the right thing. Right? So therefore, the key thing, the topic tonight is civil society promises and government accountability. It's over on YouTube. You can watch the replay of it, looking at different ways how it's very important for the government to be accountable. But also, what I did was flagged up and fleshed out the whole aspect of civil society. Civil society is not just for organization, but civil societies all the way. Yeah, all the way. Those in organizations and also those in the diaspora as well. The diaspora must have a role to play, whether we like it or not, and we need to challenge the government as well that it has a part to play, without a doubt. You know, and so the whole so the whole so the whole thing and the whole game, in a sense, is that we are, and Jamaica is at a very, very crucial point. Very crucial point now. It is, you're at a threshold, very powerful threshold, ladies and gentlemen. We're at a point where history is before us. History to be made. It's a time whereby all the people of Jamaica will somewhat have a say. You cannot and won't be able to have a say until you challenge and be a part of the process in challenging and holding the governments accountable. Because even in the Constitution, it should have things about recalling. I believe it should have things about term limit. This is just me. Some say they don't want no term limit. I believe there should be term limits as well. I believe there should be fixed date. I'm not sure if the recommendation is there for a fixed date in Parliament. That is something which also should play a fundamental role. It must. It must. You know, and why I say there's so many there's so many things that are important, and one of them which I need to find this. I need to find this one here. I need to find this one because, you know, there's so many issues which are so important. In recent days, there's a teacher which got killed. I don't know if it is confirmed that it was the taxi driver who killed her or so. But anyway, Minister Vaz has stopped the ride share and the Ubers. So it happened in the UK, I must say, whereby there was some level of not knowing and not understanding or not controlling certain things. And I believe the UK had stopped it and was going to shut it down. And I think they sort of fix it up. And I believe it is right that it's regularized properly. But something that came up, and let's talk about accountability. Something that came up, and it was about the sex registry. Sex registry. Is it public or is it private? Should the sex registry be private or should it be public? Should you know, for argument's sake, if someone is deported and it was being deported because of some rape or some pedophilia or underage things or whatever like that, should you know this? Yeah? Or should it be private? Should you know who come and live next to you? You see, many people are saying sometimes that the registry need to be exposed and they need to be known. And if people know these persons, and there's a law in the UK whereby I think that women, if they're getting involved with some man or so, and they believe that the man is a bit dodgy, then they can go to some sort of, they can do a check on them to see if it's a dodgy geezer. Yeah, I think they can do some check on them if the person is dodgy. Yeah, I forget what law it is called, but but the Sexual Offences Act 2009 in Jamaica allows for the establishment of a sex offenders registry in Jamaica, and the Sexual Offence Registration of Sex Offenders Regulation 2012 details the operation of it. Register falls under management of the Commission of Corrections. It was established in July 2014. Currently located at 12 to 14 Lockett Avenue. Registry is headed by a registrar, and its location from where the sex offenders register is maintained, and the affairs of sex offender registry registration centers are administered. Some are saying that if the due diligence was done with this particular person, then one would be fully abreast. You think it should be made public? Who else think? Let me know who think the registry should be made public. There are three main systems that are used worldwide to determine the registration of sex offenders. These are risk-based, sentence length-based, and offense-based. On the offense-based system, registration is required when an offender is convicted for one of the listed or specific offenses or specified offenses. It is said that the dangerousness or severity of the crime is not reflected by this system. This is a system utilized in Jamaica jurisdiction. Who is to be registered? And why? Some people are saying that one of the reasons why the registry is not really that populated, or they're not actually sharing it, because enough people name without upon it. Yeah. They're saying that pastors, MPs, and doctors, and all them people that would have upon it. So in a way, it's like there's some. I'm just repeating what I hear. People are saying that somewhat protecting themselves, protecting their base. When I was growing up in Jamaica and going to school, and I look back now, coming to the UK and looking back now, and I realized that a lot of the bus drivers were, in the sense of what pedophile is. I know I understand what pedophile is. Were pedophiles. They were involved with little children, girls under 16. They were pedophiles. The men dealing with children, they were pedophilia. Come to the UK, you realize it, and you look at it and say, oh my days. But it was normalized and seemed as nothing, and seemed as a normal thing to do because of the sexualization of the society to a certain extent. Unlimited data bundle available for all kind of network called WhatsApp. I don't know what that is. Yeah. So it's a very touchy area, a very sensitive area, because what you do not want at the same time is jungle justice. You don't want that. You don't want persons to be somewhat have served their time and their name is on the register and they could be rehabilitating at the same time, and then jungle justice also. But at the same time, people somewhat the organizations, for argument's sake, I'm into child care law. I'm a child care lawyer and child protection, and of course, one has to vet anybody who's working with children in any form of ways. Any social workers or so, they've got to be vetted to make sure that they stand up to scrutiny. That's very important. So therefore, in the sensitive positions of these persons, and they're working. So therefore, when persons are working in the area where they have to they have to deal with children or people or young people, then there need to be a knowledge of who these persons are. The EU had a grant program for Latin America, Caribbean. The EU had a grant program for Latin American, Caribbean, and African government in forming economic rural zone. This would include organizing civil and charitable groups. Crazy, don't know what that is. Don't know if it lines up with what the discussion is going on with, but yeah. So in further looking at the this whole thing regarding the sexual offenders register, they said, who are to be registered? Sex offenders who are convicted of a specified offense, they said. The reporting obligation of sex offenders who are not exempted from registration and reporting requirements shall within 3 days from being sentenced and not in lawful custody report to the sex offender registration center that serves the parish which they reside. Mm. It should be told to all the people there. You know, sex offenders who are being released from correctional institutions, whether in parole or otherwise, shall within 3 days from being released, not to lawful, report to the registration center that serve the parish in which they will be residing. After the initial visit to the registration center that serve the parish sex offenders reside, they shall return. Within 14 days, I mean, it goes further. Let me just post the sex offenders register here that persons can actually go on. It's online. Um, there it is. Sex offenders register. One can look at it. The, the, there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Sex offenders register right there. And now they said the removal of sex offenders from the register. After the expiration of 10 years from the date of the imposition of a registration and reporting requirement original period, a sex offender shall be eligible for termination of the reporting requirements imposed. Upon the expiration of original period, as a judging chamber shall make an order to either terminate the registration and reporting requirements or continue with or without variation for further period, not exceeding 10 years. Judge can apply. But I think the key thing is about access. Access to the information in the registry or the register. Access. All information in the register and register shall be secret and confidential. Here's all information in the register and registry shall be secret and confidential. What do you think? Should it be secret? Should it be confidential? Access to information in the register or registry can only be given to persons or organizations who are deemed to have legitimate interests, such as members of the Jamaica Constabulary, persons engaged in the professional counseling of sex offenders, prospective employers and employees of a sex offender, persons managing facilities for the care and treatment of vulnerable persons at which sex offender is or has applied to, a patient, employer, and volunteer, persons managing education institute of which a sex offender is enrolled or is seeking to enroll, persons required. It seems to me that what is important is getting persons on the register. It is getting persons on the register which seems to be the most important thing. Because in a way, for any Tom, Dick, and Harry just to go to a post office and or wherever and look at the names of persons and say, well, yeah, I'm not too sure about that. I believe that if the person has served their time and they're on the register for 10 years or so, then uh, it's a tricky one, because if someone is a pedophile or someone just came out of prison or so, and then wabum, they just go straight to live next door to some children or so, or right next to a school. I don't know. That's a tricky one there. That's a tricky one. The individual and organization highlighted above can get access to the information by making an application in writing to the Commission of Corrections, Department of Correctional Service, 5 to 7 King Street, or to the register. Yeah. The application should provide such information as reasonably necessary to enable the register to identify the individuals. Where the applicant is not the appropriate person deemed to receive the information, but it is established that the sex offender poses a risk to a particular vulnerable person and class of vulnerable persons, the information can be disclosed to a member of the Jamaican Consular Force, the children advocate, or public authority who can protect vulnerable persons. Well, it seems, based on how this is unfolding, it seems like the key issue is getting the persons on the register. Getting the persons on the register is key and very important. That's what seemed to be the most important thing. Getting persons on the register. Question to be asked is, do you believe it should be secret or not? And if secret, why? And if not secret, why? Secret or not? That's the key thing. That's what many people are saying. Let it be public. Should it be secret or should it be public? There are pros and cons for both of them at the same time. You know? But in regard to the ride and share bit, I'm not going to say it was a knee-jerk reaction. The minister must knows what is best at the same time, and I believe that there need to be proper regulation for anything whereby a young lady or a young guy trust, because if I go onto my app and I call for a minicab by a Uber, I'm trusting that minicab. So the guy's gonna come to the door and knock, and then you know, can you check the license plate? They said the license plate is gonna be XYZ, blah blah blah. You look on the license plate and you look on the car, and the person driving it name is Jack. You're just gonna trust it. You're just gonna jump in. Yes, you're gonna jump right in. You're gonna jump right in the vehicle. You're not gonna question anything. You're gonna believe that is the you know, you're gonna believe that's the person. You're gonna trust them. So therefore, there is the understanding that anyone that is driving any of these vehicles are fully vetted totally, right? So that needs to be sorted out as well, you know. So just in recapping now tonight, I want to thank you for coming on as well, and thank you for this time. Yes, good time. And I was going to stay on for an hour, but yeah. So recap what I was talking about tonight, that civil society is very important and very crucial. Civil society is needed, and persons in Jamaica need to recognize that civil society is not just the key for organizations, which we always hear about: Advocacy Network, National Integrated Action, Justice for Jamaica, and JAMP. Civil society makes up all of it. All persons within society, all people in society, all different organizations, because you don't just wait for every 4 years for an election, as Miss Jeanette Callow said, every 4 years for an election to make your say. I mean, to say that you're only a 4-year person. And therefore, during the course of that time, the government and those guys can just do whatever they want to do. But civil society plays a role in that, right? True, right? The components of civil society, and I want to just reiterate this as more of an educational thing tonight, as someone can go back and listen to this when I speak about civil society, right? Non-governmental organizations, NGOs, community groups, local groups, former own common interests, faith-based organization, churches, mosque, whatever, temples, professional associations, you know, bar, the bar association, teachers union, medical association. These are all part of it. So when you think that, okay, we leave that to the advocacy group. No. Everyone needs to be and should be at that table for the constitutional reform. It is a key moment in the life of Jamaica. At this junction, 1962, it was handed down. We are now at 2024, where we're in the process of revamping the constitution. It is crucial and it is important, right? Trade unions, social movements, charities and philanthropic organizations, cultural recreational groups, advocacy groups. Role of civil society, advocacy and public awareness. Yes. Service provision, community building, monitoring and accountability of your political officials, empowerment and participation. That is so very crucial. And ladies and gentlemen, as I said, you know, the key thing again, get your MPs, get your leaders, get those who run, get the MPs, then all of them to sign up to the code of conduct, right? He said, and whereas the Prime Minister and his cabinet successfully completed participation in aforestated workshops And whereas the Prime Minister and his cabinet agree in principle to uphold the knowledge and philosophy imparted from the course and commit to upholding and uploading the 7 principles of public life in their dealings and interactions within and outside the public sector. That is the principles of selflessness. Every member of parliament, every political servant should be selfless. They should have integrity. They should be signing up to that. Check if they have signed up to it. Objectivity in carrying out public business. Yeah. Accountability. Holders of public office is accountable for their decisions. Openness. Honesty. Leadership. I want to rest that one right there. And it could go further. Those are the key principles of public life, ladies and gentlemen. And therefore, all MPs, all your leaders, your councillors, as a matter of fact, when they had the local government election, I challenged that all local government election candidate somewhat sign up to the code of conduct. Yeah, all of them should sign up to the code of conduct. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for joining tonight, and I hope that the message was very clear and very succinct as to the whole role of civil society, and try not to get distracted by things which are childish. But let's get focused on the business. When they go low, then everybody go high. You know what I'm trying to say? Let's not get distracted, because while the distraction is happening, something is going on at the same time. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, those on YouTube, those on Facebook, and everyone else, thank you so much, and have a good night, and see you next week, Saturday, on Talk and Sip. Peace out, and God bless you. Bye-bye.